and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. That was a wild game week. That was a wild game week. I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably not too happy with your scores. Maybe some of you are. Like, if you guys have BRUNO in your team, or if you have Mitoma in your team, maybe some others, Solly March. Anyone got Solly March out there? Maybe a few of you. I imagine not too many of you are going to be too happy with your scores, particularly compared to last week. We saw a lot of people up in the 80 points last week, maybe 70, 80 points. This week, I think we're seeing a lot of people in the 30s. I mean, I'm not much better than that myself. Things did not go to plan this game week at all. I'm going to show you my scores very, very briefly, and we're going to talk about some of the action of this game week. There's a lot to unpack, a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff that we just need to kind of calm ourselves down a little bit and try and think a bit more positively as well. So hopefully we'll be offering some reassurance in this stream as well. But we're going to be talking about Gabriel. We're going to talk about those Manchester United guys. We're going to talk about those Arsenal guys as well. And some of those players that are doing really well right now, and maybe we feel like we need to bring them in sooner rather than later. Maybe Maddison as well, possibly injured, so we've got that to cover as well. But first of all, bit of good news. I got the new AC Milan third shirt, and it is absolutely beautiful. So possibly shirt of the season. Very happy to add that to my collection this week. Trying to think positively this week after everything that's happened, but hey, we move, right? We move. Let's get cracking, guys. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you all had slightly better game weeks than me. And yeah, let's crack on. Oh, I do need to update the fixtures on the left-hand side as well of the screen. But I'm not going to do that now. I forgot to do it, if I'm honest. But yeah, I'll make sure that's sorted for next stream, at least. Yes, those are not the fixtures, just to make you guys aware. Yeah, let's continue. Let's continue. So, okay, here is my scores. Yeah, I think we're up to 43 points. It looks like Saliba is going to be on 2 bonus points. Let me just double check that very, very quickly here on my phone, because I haven't got it up on my computer. I already have the tab open on my phone. Yes, it's going to be Saliba 2 bonus points. So Saliba is going to be on 8 points. That takes me to a total of 43. I imagine that hopefully makes a few of you guys feel a little bit better about your scores, because, you know, 43 is, you know, not particularly high, but maybe that makes you feel even worse. I don't know, but it's not a good score. It's not a good score at all, and things could have been worse, yes, technically, but pretty much everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong this week for many, many people. Like I say, unless you have Mbeumo, unless you have Mitoma in your team, it's pretty crazy. Daniel Skevin with the super chat here says, Martinelli or Rashford for Eze or Ward-Prowse? Neither, I would say. Yeah, not too keen on that one. I mean, I don't know why we're giving up on players like Martinelli and Rashford, but then going for someone like Eze, who hasn't even scored any FPL points either, has he? At least Martinelli got an assist in that first game. But yeah, certainly Martinelli and Rashford have fantastic fixtures. So, Daniel, I would not be looking to move either Martinelli or Rashford to Eze or Ward-Prowse, to be fair. I would not be particularly looking to do that. It's a bit of a shocker. Okay, so we see like there's a few people in the chat who actually have lower points than me somehow. Someone's got 29 points there. Someone's got 28. Yikes. Okay, yeah, there are some horror scores this week. There are some people who had okay scores, really, but I feel like we're going to make this a safe space today, so I'm not going to read too much out of the big ones. And I'm sure some people are also lying. Someone has just said they got a score of 113. You mean, did you put an extra 1 on there? You got 13 points. Fair enough, mate. Right, so yeah. Lots of things did go wrong. Obviously, Turner did not turn up, but at least he scored as many points as Johnston. I feel like if you went for Turner for your rotation goalkeeper ahead of the likes of maybe Pickford or Onana or, you know, someone else who scored pretty low this week, then, you know, you can't beat yourself too much up about that one. Turner, actually, he only kind of conceded a wonder goal. It's not something that happens every game. Actually, Nottingham Forest managed to keep their expected goals conceded fairly low in that game, so don't think you guys should beat yourselves up too much about that one. If you didn't have a Stupinian this week, then that was probably a struggle, right? And also, if you kind of have Gabriel instead of Saliba still, that is going to hurt even more when the bonus points come in. It's like, it's a shame. It is a shame that Gabriel has been seemingly frozen out of the team. I think part of that is due to kind of what we spoke about last week, how Gabriel, in order for Gabriel to play, we do need Zinchenko to invert on the left-hand side rather than Partey inverting on the right-hand side, and that kind of allows Gabriel to play a more natural role that he's used to playing. But at the same time, we have also seen rumours today that there's a potential Gabriel move on the way off to Saudi Arabia. That is something that could happen. We saw that kind of break within the last couple of hours. So, yeah, it could not just only be that Gabriel's rotation risk, but he could be out of the league entirely, in which case he would become a definite sell. But even without that move, or if that move doesn't materialise in the next week, we've still got a little while of the transfer window to go. So it's going to take us past the Game Week 3 deadline. There's definitely some consideration to remove Gabriel from your team. I would say straight off the bat, on instinct, someone like Rico Henry would probably be my ideal replacement there. Or maybe Malo Gusto if you want to go for someone a little bit cheaper who works in the short term as well. But yeah, Rico Henry looks like a pretty good pickup there. Daniel Skevin says, once again with another super chat, thank you Daniel, says Watkins for Jackson or bring Jackson as third winger, third forward I guess you mean. It's kind of up to you. If you've got 2 free transfers going and you want to actually remove one of your midfielders as well, then there's no reason why you can't make a double switch there potentially. But yeah, a straight swap from Watkins to Jackson, I feel like seems like a fairly sensible move to me. Oliver with a £5 super chat. Thank you so much, Oliver. Says, hi Dan, I got 87 points last week, but only 45 this week. Hey, you're doing slightly better than me though, man. That's still, like, I think that's respectable. I think a lot of people who had good scores in Game Week 1 suffered in Game Week 2 because the kind of players who scored well in Game Week 1, not necessarily the same at players who scored well in Game Week 2, with the exception of, probably Solly March and Mbumo. Those two really the only guys. Maybe Wissa as well. If any of you have gone for the bald Tony himself in your teams, then maybe you've kind of seen some positives there. But yeah, look, there was a lot of shocking scores this game. With João Pedro 0 points, Pickford 0 points, Gabriel 1 point, Ezeb 2 points. Fernandes 1 point, Rashford 2 points, Maddison 3 points, Saka 3 points, Martinelli 3 points. Really low. Really low point score. So, these things happen. But Oliver has said, I want Jackson and Mbumo. I need to get rid of Gabriel Stones and my 4 million defender. Is it time for a wild card? I don't know. I see your issue. If you've got Gabriel and Stones, I mean, maybe wait for press conferences. You never know. Stones could be back. Gabriel could be back in for next game, particularly with no Tomiyasu now. If Gabriel stays at the club, there is a good chance that Gabriel does start next game week if Zinchenko is ready to go as well, because obviously Zinchenko did get some minutes today. So that is going to have a positive impact on Gabriel's potential to play. So I do think that is worth kind of taking into consideration. I don't think anyone really needs to change their 4 million defender either. So I wouldn't be panicking too much about that, Oliver, but I definitely understand where you're coming from. You want the likes of Jackson, you want the likes of Mbumo. I think you can actually wait one more game week on Mbumo, to be fair. He hasn't got the easiest fixture this week. Who have they got? It's not West Ham. It's Brighton have got West Ham. Who do Brentford have? This is where it would have been useful if I changed my graphics on screen. So it's Brentford against Crystal Palace. Again, that's not the easiest game. Crystal Palace are pretty solid defensively, but they do have Bournemouth after that. So I think you can wait. If you haven't got an Mbumo yet, you can afford to wait one more week. And you also have to remember that 2 of Mbumo's goals there were penalties as well. So, look, are we going to see a penalty every game week for Brentford? Well, if we do, we're going to see Brian Mbumo break the Premier League goal scoring record, and I don't think that's going to happen, but hey, I guess technically it could. But look, I wouldn't be panicking on that bad boy too much, but yeah, maybe a player to consider bringing in soon. So I'm going to opt against the wild card in that situation. I've got a few more super chats which I'm going to try and whiz through now. Sahil says, transferring in my dead nan, I don't know if she'll return. Well, I mean, if you're looking for returns and you have deceased family members, I guess that works, my friend. But if I'm honest, if the Game Week 3 is anything like Game Week 2, you can bring in your dead nan as much as you want. She still won't return. That is just the nature of FPL sometimes. Never Max says, shall I do Rashford to Foden and Mitoma to Mbumo? I'm not sure if I would do that, to be honest. I feel like Mitoma to Mbumo is kind of a sideways move. I think from open play, both players have been kind of similar. Unless you think Mbumo is going to get another penalty next week, then I guess maybe you have to. I don't know. But look, I do want to reiterate that Mbeumo has been dependent on penalties to get his mega scores so far, which is amazing. You pick penalty takers because you hope that will happen. But next week, it could be someone else. It could be, Bruno Fernandes getting the penalty and scoring it. It could be, Erling Haaland's getting a penalty and scoring that. It could be anyone. It could be anyone. So I don't think it's a priority move. I don't think Rashford out is a priority move either. And I'm going to go through the Manchester United players, I think, fairly soon in this stream, because I do think it's an important topic to discuss. A lot of people thinking about removing those Man United guys. Callum says, all right, Dan, does his rank matter at this stage at 3 million? It certainly is the time it matters the least. Game week 1 is when it matters the least. Game week 2, it matters the second least. Rank gains importance as each game week goes by, but if you've set your initial game week 1 team up for, presumably 4 or 5 game weeks, then it's very difficult to judge it before those 4 or 5 game weeks have passed. And I know a lot of people will be going into panic mode. We do this stream every single year. The first, dodgy game week you get, and this has been a bit of a dodgy game week. It's been a bit of a couple of unpredicted things happened this game week. We get one of them, and people do start panicking and go, "Oh no, I can't believe it! Everything was going so well in game week 1, and everything's gone to pot." But presuming you built your team for more than just these 2 game weeks, maybe try and judge some things unless things have gone terribly, terribly wrong. Injuries or players just look absolutely dreadful, or they're not even getting chances to score, or they're playing in a slightly different position or system than you kind of hope that they would. Those are the kind of transfers I would be making. I wouldn't be panicking too much on certain players though. But yeah, does rank matter at this stage? Not really. Like I've said before, last season I was probably ranked 2 millionth in the world, even by game week 18, something like that, and finished 30,000th in the world. So, if you can come back from, at that stage of the game, then you can definitely come back from game week 2. Don't you worry about that one. Calm, composed kind of stuff. That's what I want to see. Someone random with a £10 super chat. Always my sugar daddy indeed. Someone random says, is it time to give up on Trent Alexander-Arnold? Straight away, yes. I don't know. Some people had faith from him in the beginning, but look, Liverpool's defence is just washed at the moment. It's just not looking good. And we've got some tough fixtures coming up for Liverpool as well, where we do expect them to concede more goals, perhaps even more goals than they've conceded already, to be fair. So, yeah, Trent just not offering value for money at 8 million. He's playing for a worse defence now, and he is more expensive now. So when we compare Trent to seasons gone by, we're not getting the same player, we're not getting the same team, we're not getting the same price. We're getting a worse price as well, so not looking too good. What do you think about selling Leno for a 4 million keeper and just keep playing Areola? I don't really see the point in making that transfer. I don't think that transfer is going to benefit you too much. Interestingly, you bench Rashford, though. I think I remember you saying you didn't want to play Rashford because you support Spurs. I guess that paid off, I guess. Anyway, Paul says, hey, Dan, Eze to Mitoma, March or Mbeumo. Thanks. Paul, if you really want to make that kind of move, I would go for Mbeumo out of those 3. But I don't know. There's still a chance that Eze could come good. There's still a chance, but look, I totally understand that Eze to Mbeumo move. I think is there's certainly some good logic and some good reason behind that one. A few people saying Eze dropping in price tonight. We will check that out at the end of the stream and have a look at all of the price droppers and all of the price rises, just in case you guys do need to make some kind of, I don't want to say panicked transfers, but those early transfers that you're kind of forced into a corner to make sometimes. I know it's a pain, but sometimes it does have to be done. Loads of super chats today, by the way, guys. Really, really do appreciate the support on the channel. You guys are absolute legends. I think we've got a decent amount of people in here today as well. So clearly a lot of people wanting a debrief of whatever the hell that game week was. Jake Howard says, Salah or Rashford to Foden and Pedro to Jackson. I like your thinking, Jake. I would personally be removing Salah. I'm not comfortable removing Rashford ahead of this Nottingham Forest game. And I'm going to go over the Manchester United guys in just one moment, if you guys just bear with me, and we'll kind of debrief that one a little bit more, because I know it's on a lot of minds. Janina says, hope Zinchenko starts game week 3. Better for Martinelli. Yep, better for Martinelli. Better for Gabriel. Better for a lot of players, actually. Zinchenko could make a difference to Arsenal, and it's a very good fixture for Arsenal as well. Against Fulham, Fulham have been super disappointing, conceding so many chances so far this season. You do fancy Arsenal to actually go there and score a goal or two, don't you? Like a goal or 2 or 3 or 4 maybe as well. Could be good for Martinelli. really disappointing today. Obviously, Tomiyasu getting sent off, really soft first and second yellow card, to be fair. I don't want to go into this too much, but there's no way Tomiyasu should have been off that pitch. Terrible refereeing, but what can you do? But the impact of that was Gabriel comes on for a 1-pointer and Martinelli is substituted off, because an attacker needs to leave the field to get that, to make sure there is enough defenders on the pitch to kind of secure that 1-0 victory. So that did have an impact on the game, and an impact on FPL that I'm sure a lot of people were disappointed in. But yeah, definitely hope Zinchenko's back. I think he could be good. Good for Arsenal, to be fair. It would be nice to see him back on that left-hand side of the defence, really. Next super chat is from Matthew Vaughan. Says, is Nketiah in for João Pedro good? I have 0 in the bank. I would not be making that move personally. I think Nketiah's days are numbered. We're going to see Gabriel Jesus come back into the Arsenal team in the next week or two. So a little bit too short term for me, I think. Yeah, wouldn't be going there personally. Although, to be fair, if you just fancy a 1-week punt on Nketiah and fancy him against Fulham, then I guess that could pay off. I guess that could work. But yeah, it's definitely a transfer you would have to fix again later. I would prefer to move João Pedro to one of Wissa or Nicholas Jackson. Those are the two forwards I'm keeping a close eye on at the moment. Those are the two guys that I think would be really, really good picks. To be fair. So, yeah. Tom Hall at $4.99 super chat. Thank you very much, Tom. Really appreciate that, man. I've been so unlucky. I've got 17 points. Almost. Okay, Tom has got 17 points. If anyone here is feeling bad about their score for Game Week 2, imagine being in Tom's shoes. 17 points. That is tragic. My team is Turner, Ake, Gabriel, Colwill, Saka, Martinelli, Rashford, Bruno, Haaland captain, and Watkins, João Pedro. So a lot of players with very, very few points. I mean, was there any returns in that? The only player who returned in your team was Watkins, who got the penalty assist, right? And Watkins, yes, he got the penalty assist, but we thought Watkins was going to be on penalties. We thought Saka was going to be on penalties. So you've had, and by the way, so have I, 2 players, Watkins and Saka, 2 players we thought were going to be on penalties. They were on penalties all year last year. Both of their respective teams got penalties awarded to them. And obviously, neither of them got the opportunity to take those penalties and get those FPL points. Absolutely tragic. When you've got players like Mbeumo banging in penalties, João Pedro banging in the penalty game week 1, and the penalty takers that you do have, unfortunately, just not even taking penalties anymore so far this season. It's not ideal. It's really not ideal. Super chat from Callum Hall, who says, good evening. I used my transfers, Onana to Edison, Rashford to Foden. Losing faith in Man U despite their fixture versus Nottingham Forest. Still have Bruno, though. You know what? I don't think that's so bad, Callum. You know, if I was to keep one of those 3 Manchester United guys, it would be Bruno Fernandes. And I definitely like the Edison shout. I think he's a good goalkeeper to go for going forward. 2 clean sheets out of 2 so far. No sign of that slowing down either. George says, who to replace Salah with? Already have Mbeumo, Foden, Fernandes and Saka. Difficult to say, actually. That's a difficult question. I mean, maybe you could have a look at Martinelli just because of the fixture versus Fulham is really, really nice. So I think that's possible. Although I've not been massively impressed by Martinelli's positioning. I do think Zinchenko coming back could impact, though. That's something that could be improved upon, I guess. Abby Manu, sorry, almost butchered your name. Abby Manu says, 2 free transfers. Eze/Spurs mid/Sterling for Trossard. Pedro to Jackson. Okay, so you want to downgrade Trossard and bring in Jackson? I mean, yeah, fair enough. You have Gabriel, but you can bench him for a Udogie for now. Yeah, I guess there's potential there. Yeah, Pedro to Jackson seems like a good move, and you are going to have to fund that somehow. I would possibly be looking to sell Trossard, just not getting starts at the moment, is he? Yeah, not exactly sure where to go, and Mbeumo is an obvious one. I don't think I'd be buying Eze right this second, to be honest. Maybe Game Week 4 is the right time to go for Eze because we've got another unideal fixture against Brentford next. Kind of a little bit of a tough one there. We've got Bird Poop. What a name. Says, I have Midfield, Fernandes and Mbeumo, Saka and Foden in midfield and Haaland, Wissa, Isak on top. Bench Isak for Game Week 3. Well, you've got to bench someone, my friend. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Yeah, I probably would be benching either Isak or yeah, it's tough. Isak or Mitoma, I guess. Possibly one of those. Yeah, really, really tough. Maybe you could bench Wissa as well, technically, but yeah, maybe Isak has got to go on the bench, unfortunately. It's really it's a. It's tough. Right. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for the super chats. Really do appreciate that. I do want to move on to have a look at some of these Manchester United guys, because I do want to actually go over something today, very, very specifically, because yeah, we're all talking about Man United players. Are they worth keeping? Should we just be selling them, cutting our losses on these bad boys? And yeah, there's definitely an argument to remove them if you are super disappointed with their FPL returns so far. But do want to go over this. I do really want to go over this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and have a look at particularly Game Week 2 and kind of just give an idea of how unfortunate actually Bruno Fernandes was to not get any FPL returns in Game Week 2. And Rashford to a degree as well, but mostly Bruno, to be fair. So in this game, Bruno had 6 shots, 3 in the box, 1 big chance, and 0.46 XG. That's pretty high. In terms of creativity, 4 key passes, 2 big chances created, 0.94 expected assists, 0 assists. He also had a potential penalty shout there as well. People probably disagree on this one, whether some people will say, oh yeah, Man United should have got a penalty. Some people will say, no, they shouldn't. That's fair enough. Look, I'm just saying that there was a potential penalty shout in that game. So when you look at these numbers, unless you truly believe that Fernandes is just like super out of form, you know, or not the same player as he was before, then you would expect, if he continues to shoot as much as he is, he continues to create as much as he is, if he continues to be on penalties and the Man United get penalty shouts in their games, then he is going to come up with FPL points at some point or another, right? That's just kind of makes sense. Some people will say, okay, Fernandes, he's just out of form. And this is where it kind of has to come down to you guys. For me personally, 2 games is not enough for me to justify whether a player is suddenly bad or not, or suddenly in bad form. I think Bruno Fernandes as a player has enough history behind him. You know, we've watched him play football enough by now that we can see that he is a good football player. You know, he's obviously very, very good. I know a lot of people don't like his personality on the pitch or whatever. That's understandable. But on the pitch, when he's playing football, he's a good football player. And some people have said, you know, well, he didn't get, you know, that many FPL returns last season either. We got a decent amount, but not like nothing crazy. I do get that, but he wasn't playing badly. He was never playing badly. He was still creating a load. He was unfortunate not to get very many penalties, and he still did fairly well. So I don't think we can write off Fernandes as a bad player now. Some people saying, you know, Fernandes is playing in a different way now. You know, Mason Mount's come in, and now Fernandes is going to be playing deeper. What we've seen so far, that's not been happening, really. You know, we can see that Fernandes, when we look through all of these Manchester United players, Fernandes is pretty much kind of giving as much attacking potential as pretty much all of his teammates combined. It's quite crazy. He's actually doing some really good numbers here. Rashford to a degree here as well. 0.75 expected goals in that game against Spurs. In another game week, he perhaps scores in that game. A couple of key passes there as well. But 2 big chances for Rashford to score against Spurs is quite significant. So what I'm trying to say is the numbers that usually indicate future FPL returns are there. You know, and it's kind of down to you if you think, you know, it doesn't matter. These guys can generate 10 XG each. And I still don't think they're going to score goals because they're just out of form. You know, Manchester United are just bad right now. I just don't have faith in Man United right now. Which would be an absolutely valid kind of point of view. That would be absolutely totally valid for you to feel that way. But for me, I have enough faith in these players and their ability and the kind of the output they've shown in the past that when they are showing these positive signs, I'm looking for future FPL points. Using past FPL points is useful to a degree. But at the end of the day, when we bring in new players into our FPL teams, or we're considering whether we're going to sell our players or not, what we're looking at is who's going to score points in the future. It's largely irrelevant who scored points in the past. That's already happened. We have no control over that. It would have been lovely if I started the season with Brian Mbeumo and Solly March instead of Rashford and Fernandes. That would be amazing. You know, it would be brilliant. I'd have all those points. But I would still be looking now at Fernandes, at Rashford, with a little bit of concern, thinking, okay, my players have done well so far, But Rashford and Bruno, they're putting up good numbers. They've got a really strong fixture up next against Nottingham Forest. They need to start getting some points on the board. Nottingham Forest have not been too impressive recently. They have been conceding chances. Is it possible that these guys are obviously been a bit unfortunate in the first 2 games, and maybe they're going to make good of their numbers in the 3rd game? I would be worried about that. And I would be worried about that if I was selling them. I feel like if you sell Fernandes and you sell Rashford, there is every chance that move backfires on you, because you are selling good football players with a good history of scoring FPL points right before they're going to play one of the best fixtures that they'll have all season. And that's kind of the situation that we're in right now. And it's certainly not something I'd be comfortable with doing, selling those players. I can probably say here, I don't want to say 100% because we've still got a few days before the deadline. But right now, there's nothing in me that's thinking I'm going to sell Bruno or Rashford. There's nothing in me that tells me to do that, that compels me to do that. I think they're fine. After that, if it goes wrong against Forest, okay, at that point, I would probably be saying, okay, we've got Arsenal up next in game week 4 for Manchester United. There's not even a good fixture anymore for me to kind of fall back on. So the stats can be as good as they like. If they're still not doing it against Forest, and then now they've got a horrible fixture up next, some more horrible fixtures in the future, at that point I would say, right, okay, you've done your time. It's time to go. You can't just hold on to players forever. 2 game weeks is going to be too much for some people. They're going to say, I give you 2 weeks. You don't do it, you're gone. Some people say 3 weeks. Don't do it, you're gone. Some people say even more. It's kind of up to you and your patience and your play style in FPL. Mario says, Bruno and Rashford stay. Chile and Jackson for game week 3. I like all 4 of those players for game week 3, to be fair. I really do. So, yeah. It's I think it's a good idea. For me personally, I'd be looking to keep those Manchester United guys ahead of this game week 3, sorry. After that, if it doesn't go to plan, I will be on board. I'll be on board on the Rashford and Fernandes selling train. And by the way, guys, if you are just selling one, make it Rashford, I think, because Fernandes is putting up some good numbers and he's on penalties, and he's slightly cheaper as well. So I think there are more positives to be taken from Fernandes than actually there are from Rashford. So you definitely can consider doing that. Nils says Onana to Areola and Richarlison to Ødegaard. I mean, I guess you could do if you wanted to. If that's the way to afford that, then yeah, I guess that works. I don't know if I'd want to run with 4 million goalkeepers personally, though. It's kind of like giving up on your goalkeeper slot in many ways. You're just going to get a lot of 2-pointers, to be fair. I'm not really feeling that one, to be honest. But if that's your way to get Richarlison to Ødegaard, then fair enough. But bear in mind that, Ødegaard so far this season, it's a penalty goal. Can it be replicated every game week? I don't know. I perhaps want to see a little bit more from Ødegaard in open play. And from open play, I think we've seen slightly more from the likes of Saka, for example. But yes, if you've got to pick that second Arsenal attacker, Ødegaard against Fulham, you've got a good chance of getting something out of that. It could work pretty well. Chris says, keep Eze, keep João Pedro in for Isaac, 2 transfers. I mean, I don't think I'd be doing João Pedro to Isaac. I would be wanting to do João Pedro to either Wissa or Jackson. Eze is kind of up to you. If you've not seen enough from him so far, you've been disappointed with him, then yeah, you could sell him. I think he's a player you could afford to sell if you wanted to. I wouldn't say it's a super high priority transfer, but hey, if you've got nothing else to spend your transfers on, why not? Mario says, thoughts? Martinez, Chile, Colwill, Stupinian, Bruno, Rash, Richarlison, Saka, Martinelli, Haaland, Jackson. Settled for next 3 to 4 game weeks. What do you think? I think you are mostly settled, to be fair. Yeah, the only kind of concern there is possibly Richarlison, with Spurs looking like they're going to score, sign a new goal scorer and a new striker. Maybe Richarlison could be phased out at a certain point. But yeah, we wouldn't be a priority sell, would it? But yeah, in general, I think you're pretty well set up, man. I think it's looking good. Okay, what do we need to have a look at next? Oh, okay, I did just want to check this out as well. And by the way, guys, the website we're using right now is the Fantasy Football Hub website. This is their Opta Stats tool, which I'm like obsessed with. I really, really am. I know like the My Team tool is like the star of the show, and everyone loves that tool so much. But the Opta Stats tool is like, I think it's underrated. I think it's one of the most underrated tools anywhere in the FPL world. And if you want to go check this tool out and all of the others, you can still get 50% off your Fantasy Football Hub subscription, link in the description. If you want to check that out, that deal runs until the end of August. So you've got like 9 days left. How many days in August? I can't even remember. 30, 31. It's usually something like that with these months, isn't it? Yeah, so you got a few days to try it out a little bit more and see if you want to upgrade yourself for that 50% off. CMC EUS, hopefully I've said that right, says, do we keep Gabriel? If not, who's the best replacement? It's up to you. I think there is actually a good chance that Gabriel starts next game week, but and unless he's sold, because that's obviously something that could be happening as well. The best replacement for me would probably be Rico Henry, I think. Rico Henry would be my guy. So Manu, thank you very much for the super sticker. Appreciate that, my friend. Yeah, so quickly, I want to have a look on points predictions because obviously the machines are learning. The AI is getting cleverer and cleverer. And if we look at the highest predicted points for Game Week 3, look who is second and third. Look who is directly after the GOAT robot himself. Well, if it isn't Rashford and Fernandes, yes, these two players, given that they have such good records historically, we know what they're like historically, and they've been putting up pretty decent numbers, not too bad numbers at all this season as well. They are still predicted by the AI that they're going to score quite well this game week. I mean, they play Nottingham Forest at home. That's a very good fixture, right? So yeah, we've got a decent amount of predicted points for both of those players. So another thing, if you guys are the kind of people who trust in, AI predictions and stuff like that, I mean, there's always some good science behind it. They don't just pluck these numbers out of the sky. It takes a lot of things into consideration: fixtures, form, history, bookies, odds, everything like that. It all comes together, and and they're predicted not just decent points, but actually significantly more points than the likes of Salah, who's in 4th place, only on 5.6 predicted points. So hey, could it be their time finally? I mean, as someone who owns both of them, I'm kind of hoping so. Luke, thank you for the super sticker there. Not sure if there was meant to be a message attached to that one, but I do appreciate it. Harsha says, I have my doubts on Arsenal attackers after today. I wouldn't. Crystal Palace are a good defence. Honestly, Crystal Palace, people think of them as a bad team. Defensively, they've been putting up some of the best defensive numbers, for the last year, in the Premier League. It's only Man City, Newcastle, maybe Arsenal, maybe Man United. They've actually been putting up better defensive numbers than Crystal Palace over the last year. So I wouldn't feel bad about it. If your Arsenal attackers didn't do well against, I don't know, Newcastle or, Man City or someone like that, you'd be saying, well, yeah, fair enough. They were playing against a tough opposition. I have to manage my expectations a little bit. But I think that's pretty much what happened with the Crystal Palace game. It was a tough opposition and they didn't do so well. The next fixture is against Fulham. Shall I show you some numbers on Fulham right now? I would love to show you some numbers on Fulham right now because I do feel like we need to move the conversation onto Arsenal players anyway. So yeah, that's not the right tab. What am I looking for? Actually, let's just go on the Opta stats tool. All right, so if we just find Leno for example, because obviously he is the goalkeeper, and we change the stats type to defensive, and you can start getting an idea of some of these defensive numbers and how shocking they actually are. In fact, should we just go to all goalkeepers so we can get a real idea of who the worst defenses in the league are? So here we go. Let's order it in reverse order so we can see the worst first. So, we've got a quick couple of super chats before I go do that. So, Ruben says, sell Salah / Pedro to fund Jackson plus March / Diaz. Yeah, that's not too bad. I would hold your horses on Diaz though, personally. But yeah, if you want to go for March, fair enough. Pedro to Jackson is probably a good move. Luke says, here it is. Is Gabriel a must sell? I don't know if he's a must sell. He's not far off a must sell though, is he? Yeah, he's definitely a player who would be one of your priority transfers if you didn't have any other problems, perhaps. So Manu says, sell Diaby. What to do with with Pedro? Pedro Porro, I guess, with 0.3 in the bank. Pedro Porro is a difficult one because I think there might be some rotation with Emerson. Diaby I would not be looking to sell. I actually think Diaby has been really good and really unlucky. In fact, should we have a quick look at some Diaby underlying numbers, because he's actually been pretty decent. I'd like the idea of kind of having him against Burnley next. Actually, I think it could be pretty good. So yeah, if you look at Diaby's underlying numbers here, you can see he's slightly underperformed. 6 shots, 5 in the box. That's pretty decent numbers for what is essentially a midfielder. A decent creativity here as well. Hasn't had a chance to get an assist yet, but these numbers are pretty decent. These are, excluding penalties, these are similar numbers to like the likes of Mbeumo. And Diaby has the better fixture, so I would definitely be keeping Diaby. I would not be looking to sell him. I know it's frustrating when your FPL players don't return, but he got the return in game week 1. Hey, that's something, right? He's better than Ezra owners who have had 0 FPL returns. They'll be really disappointed. Forget Diaby. I think Diaby, he's looked good. I think he's looked positive. Passes the eye test. Anyway, looking at these goalkeepers very quickly, I've ordered this by expected goals conceded, with the highest expected goals conceded right at the tippy top. And we can see Leno, 5.92 expected goals conceded. So he is facing a lot of shots, but more importantly, a lot of shots in dangerous areas. So you can see 29 shots in the box, 9 big chances there as well, 17 shots on target. That's more than anyone else in the Premier League so far. Fulham, despite the fact that, let's look at who Fulham have played so far. Like, it's not like they've had super tough fixtures. They've played against, I mean, yes, you can say Brentford are a good team, but, we wouldn't put them in like the top 5, 6, 7 teams in the Premier League, right? And they played against Everton in the opening game. Again, a team that's classically struggled to create chances. And yet, Everton and Brentford have managed to generate 5.92 expected goals against Fulham. That's insane numbers. And Leno, I appreciate he's a decent goalkeeper, but when you concede that many chances, you are going to concede goals, particularly against the best teams and the best finishers. Super chat here quickly from Tanin, who says, Rashford and Fernandes, should I get Maddison in? No, I would not. Maddison is actually a concern right now, potentially injured. He's had his scan today. Hopefully in the next day or two, we'll find out if there is anything long-term wrong with Maddison. But yeah, Maddison is a concern right now. Not a player I'd be bringing in personally. It may actually be, he's a player I have, may actually be a player I am forced to remove if it turns out he's going to be injured for a week or two. Would be possibly looking to remove him. So hold your horses on Maddison. And like we were saying earlier, Rashford and Fernandes, for me, are players you should keep. That's what I would be doing personally. I'd like to keep these guys. But yeah, Leno, look, this is what I'm saying. Not face tougher opponents, and bless him, and Fulham, they are just conceding so many chances right now. So when they're about to play Arsenal, who I think we would probably all agree are in attack, particularly. Look, I think they looked really good in attack today. Really did really well. I know it's only a 1-0 victory, but I still think Arsenal did well in attack. You put that up against a Fulham team that is already struggling against relegation threatened teams and mid-table teams, and now they're going to play against Arsenal, who just look like they're on another level right now. They look really positive, really good. You would not be totally surprised. You know how we get these occasional, like 6-0 games or 7-0 games or 7-1. These kind of insanely big results that we do see from time to time. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I'm saying if it was going to happen, this game would not be the worst bet to kind of say, I think it's going to happen this game, I really do kind of feel that way. Assad says, Nunes to Jackson and Shaw to Chilwell for free, and what to do with Gabriel. I feel like, yeah, do those moves. But maybe you could just, if you're worried about Gabriel, then why not just switch Gabriel to Chilwell instead? That's definitely an option. Or you could try play him. Hopefully we'll get a better idea of whether Gabriel is staying in the Premier League or not. But hey, you could just do, yeah, like I say, Nunes to Jackson, and then Gabriel up to Chilwell, potentially, if you can afford to do that. But if not, maybe you do have to do Shaw to Chilwell, and in which case, I wouldn't be taking a -4 to remove Gabriel. I'll say that one. Josh says, why Henry and not Saliba? Saliba is fine, but the fixtures from a defensive point of view do start to look a little bit ropey at a certain point. So after Fulham, we've got Man United, well, I know have struggled recently, but it's still not ideal. We've got Spurs there in game week 6, and we've got Manchester City there as well. And I do fancy Spurs and Man City to score against Arsenal, and even Man United possibly there as well. If you've already got Saliba, great, keep him. You know, this Fulham game, this Everton game, possibly the Bournemouth game as well, possibly. You should be hopeful of clean sheets in there, and maybe you get one out of Manchester United as well, but I wouldn't be super confident about that one. So, yeah, I do prefer Henry. Henry's got better attacking potential. I think, to be honest, Brentford are a decent defence in general. They have been for a while, and they've got good fixtures as well. So, yeah, I would be leaning towards Henry, a little bit cheaper. I think he has slightly higher upside there and potential there to score the good points, right? And that's what we're all after. But Saliba's fine as well. Edward says, have -4, Baldock, Salah, Pedro to Chilwell, Foden, Jackson. Yeah. Oh, when people are saying Pedro, they don't mean João Pedro. I think they mean they don't mean Pedro Porro, they mean João Pedro. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense potentially. Yeah, I guess you could make that move. Yeah, it's definitely an improvement, and a -4, you know, could be worse there. Do you really need to remove Baldock though? He's just a 4 million defender. He's meant to just sit on your bench and do nothing. And whether he's injured or not, he's doing the same thing. He's sitting on your bench and doing nothing, unless you have nothing else on your bench whatsoever and you really are panicking. But look, in general, if you're thinking of taking a -4, there are worse -4s to take than that. It's a triple transfer that improves your team, right? Going back to this, so yeah, like I say, Leno really struggling. Fulham, I'm picking on Leno. What I really mean is the Fulham defense, they're struggling. Martinez obviously had that horror show game against Newcastle, tactically all wrong, but did pick up in the game week 2. Vicario seems like a good goalkeeper, but he's faced a lot of shots as well. Spurs still defensively ropey. Vicario has kind of kept them in it a lot, hasn't he? Bournemouth we expect to see down there. We expect to see Wolves and Luton and Everton down there as well. Liverpool not doing too well defensively either. Which is something. Turner, I think it's kind of an interesting one, but I feel like they've had a bit of a let-off game against Sheffield United, who are really not a very strong attack at all. So that's why we see him slightly higher up. But hey, there's positives to be taken there from Turner, positives to be taken from Johnson. Any fellow Johnston owners should be feeling positive. As with Flecken, Edison there as well, looking good on those numbers. Yeah, so in general, what I'm trying to say, target Fulham. And Man City play Fulham in game week 4 as well. That is going to be carnage. Absolute carnage. Luke with another super chat here says, Bayer to Gusto, start Gusto for Luton, bench Gabriel. I mean, it's an option. Yeah, it's definitely an option. I don't hate that. But if you don't want Gabriel anymore, why not just sell Gabriel for Gusto? That's an option too. Free up a bit of money, maybe do something else with it. Could work. Andrew says, what is the highest priority to transfer out? Gabriel or João Pedro? Would you take a -4 hit to transfer out both? I wouldn't take a -4. No, Andrew. Andre. Sorry. For some reason, I thought you were Scottish, but I feel like Andre Ivanov is perhaps maybe somewhere slightly more eastern of Scotland, perhaps. Yeah, I wouldn't take a -4. I don't think I'd take a -4. I don't know who's the higher priority, though. If you have enough money to go João Pedro to Wissa or Nicholas Jackson, then that would be my priority. But if you're making a kind of João Pedro to another 5.5 million forward or a 5 million forward, then that would be pretty low priority. So it does depend on your budget. And how much money you've got to spend on upgrading João Pedro. If you can upgrade him significantly, then I would say that's the priority, because typically you're going to back the attackers. The attackers are going to score you the most points, really. If not, then maybe keep Pedro every chance he starts in game week 3. Maybe he scores a penalty as well. And Gabriel, you can remove him instead. So you got options. Kai A says, thoughts on Gabriel out, Gavardio in. To be fair, I actually haven't mentioned, I've been saying Henry and I've been saying Gusto, and we had a quick mention of Saliba. I think Gavardio is possibly, one of my favourite defenders to go for right now. So Gavardio, Gusto, Saliba, and Henry. Yeah, like all of those. Perhaps we'll do a breakdown on a video later in the week about the potential defenders that you could be going for. we did a kind of a similar video last week on Friday. I think we potentially do the same again today, to be fair. Yeah, I think that could be one to go for. So anyway, we've covered Manchester United and how you should keep their players. We've covered Arsenal players, how you should keep their players, despite their very, very low scores this game week. There is potential, though. They are showing potential for good scores in Game Week 3. Game Week 3, for both United and for Arsenal, looks a lot better. Much more positive fixtures, much more big scores, potential there. So, yeah, don't be selling those bad boys. Don't be selling them quite yet. Thank you very much, Sahil, for becoming a member of the channel. Really, really appreciate that, my friend. MKTV, I'm very well, thank you, my friend, despite the terrible game week, but we move, as they say. What else have we got to cover? So, should we perhaps have a brief look at defenders, because I feel like we do need to cover this at some point this week, but we may as well go over it briefly now. We're only going to go on streaming for another, 10, 15 minutes. And I do want to also have a look at potential price changes at the end of this stream. I think that's a really important thing we need to take note of. But I want to have a look at expected goal involvement, because I don't want to look at too closely at clean sheet potential. I feel like we can judge that metric separately. So far this season, the best attacking potential among defenders has been from Estupiñán, who's got expected goal involvement so far this season of 2.3. As we know, he's been involved in 3 goals, so that tracks. Chilwell second there, 1.1, so one goal involvement there. Perhaps could have had more, though, to be fair. Could have had a goal so far this season. We know that he's had one disallowed already as well. So yeah, certainly straight away, 2 out of your 3 defenders, assuming you're going in for a 3-defender formation, 2 out of 3 should be Estupiñán and Chilwell. That is just a straight-up fact. If you've got Stones or James or still knocking about and you need to remove them, or if you've got Gabriel, you need to be removing them, and you haven't got Estupiñán or Chilwell, well, one of those 2, these are your 2 priority defenders. There's no shadow of a doubt. The question really is who to go as that 3rd defender. Now, the player off, I'm not going to include Bolly because I'm not confident about the Nottingham Forest defence. Nottingham Forest also, they have some pretty bad fixtures coming up. So we're going to gloss over Bolly. But Rico Henry comes in next, 4.6 million. We've spoken about him already as a really nice replacement. If you've already got Estupiñán, you've already got Chilwell, you need that 3rd defender. Rico Henry looking really, really good right now. Decent attacking involvement. He's had 2 big chances created, which is quite nice. 1 assist, 0.86 expected assist there, which is pretty decent. And he's got some good fixtures as well. So lots of positive things. Clean sheets potential. Reece James, we're not going to go for him, unfortunately, because he is injured. Varane, header merchant maybe a little bit. Adogie's look good. Really good, really offensive, but do we trust that Spurs defence? I'll leave that in your capable hands. Luke Shaw definitely does have a bit of attacking potential with his creativity, but I know we're kind of worried about Man United. I would say that a player like Luke Shaw, for me, unless you're replacing him with Chilwell or Estupiñán, Luke Shaw is a don't buy, don't sell kind of player. I'd be happy to keep him for one more game week at least. Got a super chat from Chiseled Planet. Says, Captain Diaz and Jota went very well, I guess, even if I was mad. Oh, my word. Yeah, Chiseled Planet, you're the guy who was in the stream last week who said you were going to Captain Diaz. And I said you were crazy. But I said I respected it, to be fair. Now I just respect it even more. Yeah, it paid off, my friend. Congratulations. I mean, you beat us boring guys with Erling Haaland and Mo Salah as our captain. You beat us all. So, yeah, congratulations, man. Hope you had a decent game week overall. But yeah, so, okay, I think straight away we've got some defensive targets here. We've got Estupiñán, we've got Chilwell, we've got Henry. We've got Udogie, I think just about sneaks in there, despite the worrying Spurs defence. But fixtures do get a lot better from Spurs from here on. So definitely some potential there. Would not be looking to bring in too many of these other players in quite yet. But there would be a couple more players I would like to include. So first of all, let's go on expected points maybe. So I would say that Gavardio goes in there immediately for me because I feel like because he's quite versatile and he obviously City have spent a lot of money on him and there's some kind of some injuries at Man City at the moment. I do think Gavardio, having only started 1 game so far, should find himself very quickly becoming as nailed on as a Man City defender possibly can be, really. I think he's a good long-term pick, whereas the likes of Walker and Akanji, they're doing fine for now, but you do worry in the long term whether Walker and Akanji might find themselves out of the Man City team here and there, whether that's every other game or maybe even more than that, to be fair. So, yeah, Gabriel, I think probably from here on to the end of the season, probably plays 80% of Man City games. And by Man City standards, that's pretty good. So I would put him in straight away. Only 5 million. Probably only going to be picking up 6 points a game from him. But that's good enough for me. I would say that's really nice. If you can't get to Edison easily and you do want to go in on that Man City defence, which is so good when they play Sheffield United next, you're pretty much guaranteed a clean sheet there if you can get a defender who's going to be playing games. So, yeah, really like Gavardio. Hopefully that should reward you immediately if you do go for a player like him. Aside from that, there are other players that, like, okay, you could go for them. Like, well, we spoke about Gusto earlier. I think Gusto only really sneaks in because he is so cheap. If he was 4.5, we wouldn't be speaking about Gusto, but 4 million, you can just have him in your team, play him for now, and then later down the line, you can just bench him. You can just bench him, stick him on your bench, and no harm done there. A 4 million defender on your bench is not going to do any damage really to your starting 11 unless you are wanting a triple up on Chelsea that doesn't involve Gusto. So short term, Gusto, 4 million, play now, bench later, absolutely fine. Now is the time where Chelsea have their best fixtures. So now is the time to invest in the players who will be playing now. And Gusto is a player who will be playing now. So don't mind that to pick. So if we just show selected players only, it kind of whittles us down to these 6. And I would be trying. Actually, no, I'm going to throw in Saliba in here as well. Nailed on, doing okay for bonus at the moment, and Arsenal do still have decent fixtures ahead. I'm going to throw Saliba in there as well, and I'm going to say that in an ideal world, your main back 3 that you're going to be planning on playing next few game weeks should probably consist of 3 of these 7 players. There might be a little bit of wiggle room there if you've already got certain players. You know, Ben White, you know, you probably would not be looking to sell Ben White, for example. Luke Shaw, you can definitely afford to keep as well if you have him for certainly for Gameweek 3. It's yeah, these are the kind of players you want to have, in my opinion. And if you're looking for a new defender in particular, if you're looking for a new defender, I would be picking from this list. 100%, I would be picking from these 7 players. I would probably not be looking elsewhere at all. I don't think there's anyone outside of these 7 players that I'll be looking to bring in as a new transfer. That's kind of what I'm saying there. Super chat again from CMC says, do we go 3-4-3? Haaland, Jackson, Wissa / Alvarez is nuts. You can do if you want. I still do think there's a lot of value in the midfielders. And I feel like if Man United midfielders and Arsenal midfielders do well in Game Week 3, and it does look set up for them to do well in Game Week 3, the talk of the 3-4-3 formation is going to go quickly out of the window, particularly when we've still got to squeeze in our Brighton midfielders and our Brentford midfielders and, you know, all of that stuff. It's going to be very, very difficult to kind of have a 3-4-3 formation because there is a lot of options in midfield. And we've got Erling Haaland, of course. The second forward could be Jackson, could be Wissa, could be Alvarez, could be Watkins, but that's pretty much it. And I feel like only Jackson and Wissa are really standing out to me at the moment. Whereas there's so many midfielders that I would be expecting to score well this week. So many. Beardy says, why waste a City slot on a defender? Get their attackers instead. That's fair enough. The difficulty is with Man City attackers is they rotate like mad and you never know who's going to score. You're never going to get, you're never going to be the main point scorer in a team. Well, you're never going to be the main attacking point scorer in your team. When you're playing with Erling Haaland every week, he's going to mop up the goals and the bonus points. So you're kind of playing second fiddle in a way there, and you could get rotated. So there is obviously benefits to going for Manchester City attackers, but I would not write off kind of defenders. If you can just pick up a nice 6 points every game week, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I'm sure a lot of people would be very pleased with the kind of the 12 points offered by those Man City defenders so far. I feel like it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Right, so I feel like we've covered that now. Those are your defenders, the kind of defenders I'd probably be looking to replace with. We spoke about Arsenal. Keep your Man United, in my opinion anyway. Of course, if you disagree, don't go. My top forward targets are still Nicholas Jackson, and Johan Wissa, the bald Tony himself. Chisel Planet says, have a feeling Harvey Barnes will become essential soon. I actually agree with you, my friend. But I'm waiting for, one, Harvey Barnes to kind of get himself nailed on in this Newcastle team, and two, get the fixtures, like the better fixtures. We want the better fixtures, right? Sahil says, thoughts on Salah to Sterling. Not too keen on that one, to be honest. Although Sterling did play well last game, it's a big risk. If you're willing to take that risk, fair enough, but it's not something I would be too willing to do. Right, let's have a look at some predicted price changes. Okay, so those of you guys who are not familiar with how this works. So again, this is another Fantasy Football Hub tool. This gets updated like, you know, every hour really, and maybe even every half an hour. And it predicts whether players are going to go up or down in price. So this is just another one of their many, many tools that they have, and why it's so essential to get Fantasy Football Hub. It's good. So we can see that if a player's target is over 100, so in this column here where we see target, if a player is over 100, that means they are likely to rise in price overnight. I believe the time is 2:30 a.m. UK time, or British summer time, should I say. What that is in your respective time zones, you'll have to work out for yourself. But if the target is over 100, by the time the clock strikes 2:30 a.m., then the player will go up in price. So in Isaac's situation, he'll go from 7.6 to 7.7. Kyle Walker's situation, he'll go from 5 million to 5.1 million, because both of those players are over 100 already on their targets. Could see Varane by the time we get to 230 also go up. Could see Wan-Bissaka there, and Nketiah potentially there as well, as a lot of people look to shift on João Pedro. So potential there for a lot of these players to go up in price. Now, bear in mind, guys, I'm definitely not necessarily recommending buying these players. I would not be touching Walker, for example. I think he possibly misses the next game. And Varane and Wan-Bissaka would not be looking to touch those players personally. If you have them already, fine, but would not be looking to bring them in. Isaac is an interesting one, but nothing more than that. And Nketiah, long-term, or even medium-term, is not particularly useful or good. So, yeah. Just because the players are going up in price doesn't mean you have to buy them. Don't panic buy. Don't buy players that you don't actually want just because they're rising in price. But what we're saying is Isaac, Walker, possibly Varane, possibly Wan-Bissaka, possibly Nketiah are the players looking likely to rise in price this week. The Truong fan, by the way, says, thanks for suggesting to keep Mbeumo and Foden. You're welcome, my friend. Yeah. A lesson to not judge too quickly, and hopefully a lot of people will try and take the same lessons as for those Manchester United guys. 2 game weeks is I don't know, it's not enough. Mbeumo and Foden, I knew Foden would come good, great fixtures. Mbeumo, yeah, was a little early to sell him, but yeah, right. So these are the kind of players going up. We could see the likes of a little bit later on in the week, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, because some of these players are around 90 target. We could see them going up as well. So Luis Diaz, Haaland, Mbeumo, Saka, I would imagine these players go up by deadline. Possibly Alvarez as well. He might go up, but possibly not by that stage. Salah has got a downward trend. So even though his target was moving up, it's now starting to go down. So yeah, Salah will probably not be going up in price. I don't think he'll go down either, though, because his target is still quite high, despite the fact it's starting to reduce. Now, if we go on the other end of the spectrum, we can start to see there's quite a few players who are likely to fall in price, possibly tonight. So, on the other end of the spectrum, minus 100 or more on the target means the player is going to go down in price. At the same time, 2:30 a.m. UK time, Creswell down to 4.4, Dyer down to 4.4, Joe Linton 5.9, Reece James 5.4, Urian Timber 4.8, Eze 6.4, Mount 6.9, Guaita, Benrahma, me, possibly even Yuri Tillemans as well. All of these players very, very possibly going down in price tonight, which is gonna be tough if you still have the likes of James, or if you have Eze in your team and you're worried about him a little bit already. You could be forced into a move. So if you are looking to remove Eze and you want to go for another 6.5 million midfielder, you don't have any money in your bank right now, you might have to do it like now. Yeah, it's the nature of early season. Early season, the price changes are just so crazy because everyone is just going crazy with their transfers. People just, the deadline passes for one game week and they're already making their transfers for the next game week, which means we see these price shifts happen so soon. So yeah, as owners, be warned, he could drop to 6.4 tonight. And same with any of the other players you kind of see on screen right now. Going slightly lower, probably expect some of these players to drop in price as we approach deadline as well. Zinchenko could be interesting. If he goes to 4.9, he could actually genuinely become an option. Yeah, that could be worse. Yeah, but we got some players on some downward trends. João Pedro's safe for now. I know a few of you guys thinking about selling Pedro. He's fine for tonight, but could drop down back to 5.5. Unless you bought Pedro at 5.6, though, not going to matter too much, really. If you bought Pedro at 5.5, right now your selling price is 5.5. If he drops, your selling price is still going to be 5.5 for Pedro, so don't worry too much about that one. Remember, you don't collect 100% profit from players when you sell them. You only collect 50% or less profit when you sell your players. So unless you bought Pedro for 5.6, you've got nothing to worry about. Absolutely nothing to worry about. Some of these players actually on positive trends. So Antonio and Ruben Diaz actually kind of going up a little bit there. But yeah, those are your players kind of dropping down in price. And hopefully we've got that covered as well. But guys, we are going to leave it there. I do need to get to work on tomorrow's buy, sell, keep, avoid video. Always a favorite video of mine to make each week. So yeah, looking forward to cracking on with that one and hopefully get that out tomorrow as early as possible. Probably going to be the afternoon if I'm honest. But don't forget, guys, I have actually already uploaded 2 videos for Game Week 3. Excluding this stream, so this is the third bit of Game Week 3 content we've made, and Game Week 3 has only just ended. But hey, I enjoy the grind. I enjoy the FPL grind. So we're making videos pretty much non-stop at the moment. So yeah, if you want to go check that out, I made a tier list video of the best Game Week 3 transfers on Sunday and on earlier today. I uploaded a video basically creating the perfect team that I would want to have going forward if I was on a wild card right now. The kind of rough team that I would be going for right now, and might be kind of useful if you guys are trying to build towards a certain team. Then that's kind of what I'll be looking at as kind of a template to try and work towards a little bit there. Guys, if you wouldn't mind liking the stream before you disappear, that would be amazing. Or if you're watching this as a replay, really would appreciate a like on this bad boy as well. It really does help out the channel so much. I really appreciate all of you guys who do make the effort to click the like buttons. You guys are absolute legends. Of course, subscribe if you haven't done already. Like I say, we're doing daily content on FPL, so yeah, hopefully there's going to be something in there for you. Hopefully we're going to answer all of your questions, go into detail about who the best picks are, who we should be selling, how we should be thinking about long-term strategy and stuff like that. And doing plenty of streams as well, a couple of streams a week. So nice to have subscriptions on so you can get involved with the streams. So yeah, that's it for my spiel. Of course, I've got to shout out Fantasy Football Hub, link in the description for 50% off. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there. I'll stop going on now about different things, trying to make you guys do stuff. Do what you want at the end of the day. I appreciate you being here regardless. But yeah, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow for buy, sell, keep, avoid. Aside from that, thank you so much for watching once again. And I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.